Thank you. Thank you. Uh, Good morning and very good day to everyone. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes ครับ clear ดี
Okay.
ครับ
I'd like to thank organizers allowing me to join this launching of dialogue and to share some idea about tourism in this context. So let me share slide on the screen. I hope everybody can see my slide on the screen. Yeah, let me start with a very basic concept. I think what we are discussing is about sustainable tourism. And it's quite really clear from the definition of the UNWTO. Sustainable tourism is tourism that takes full account of the current and future economic, social, and environmental concern and impact, and try to address different needs, including of the visitors, industries, environment, and also particularly the host communities. So basically, the sustainable tourism here look at both positive and negative side. On the positive side, there could be a number of possible benefits, and on the negative side, there could be some possible adverse impact to the environment, to the cultural, ecological aspect. Another one that I like to start mentioning in terms of sustainable tourism and based on some experience, there could be quite a good linkage of the tourism with other sectors, particularly what we are discussing in terms of food and packaging sectors. In terms of the COVID-19, in fact, it's a bit new. But this one has been already started in terms of how the pandemic can have maybe both positive and negative impact on the tourism. Basically, as we know, the tourism is very much growing and having one of the most can contribute as one of the most affected sectors because of the different restrictions in terms of the travel across countries. And there have been some reference what would be the scenarios in the short term and long term for this kind of reduction of international tourist arrivals. At the same time, when we look at on this kind of scenarios, there could be some change and provide possible opportunities in terms of, for example, what would be the impact and opportunity at local tourism and destination. This may provide a kind of excellent position to be booming. At the same time, when we look at the different size of the hotels or kind of the tourist accommodation, they obviously the bigger size of hotel may have less become less popular. At the same time, we can see that the trend would be going more on the smaller scale of the hotels. Depend on the ties or the origin of the tourists. The one of the biggest tourist number from Europe can have some change in terms of going into different destination, basically avoiding the crowded areas, and look at what would be the possibility to deal with in the initial period of the after recovery. We are discussing in terms of what would be the scope to deal with in this dialogue from the tourism point of view. One, try to see what would be the opportunity, obviously from the challenge in looking at during and also beyond the COVID-19 as impacts. The second one is about how we can deal with maybe better integration of tourism in other sectors, particularly with the food and packaging. And overall, what could COVID-19 can provide was a challenge and opportunities in the travel and tourism industries. And focusing on the SCP, and in this case, we may like to utilize the new business model according to the new normal, according to the post-COVID-19. Yeah, there could be some possible approach in order to promote the sustainable lifestyle for the SCP in the tourism. As mentioned, one of the possible linkage of the tourism component with the food and packaging. The example would be the food and eco tourism. This could provide a kind of possible growing types of the tourism to support local restaurants on the food sector and eco resources, eco-friendly resources. In terms of the packaging, the people having better awareness to deal with the ecosystem with the impact on their health and quality of life. So what would be the opportunity for the travel, for example, with the reusable? Another approach is about the resilience. This is not very new because we have been doing some research and projects. And earlier, we perhaps not addressing the case of COVID-19. But this concept, very similar application can be utilized in order to better mobilize and improve adaptive capacities for different types of organization, both public and private sector, in order to possibly build a new business model. And this business model could provide opportunity to make use of the opportunity that we are discussing. For example, look at shorter supply chain, utilizing both local and regional types of the resources. Another approach is about the governance. Again, this is not very new approach. Since the governance provide very good cross-cutting types of the mechanism, and in most cases are more flexible, dealing with different stakeholders, and the supporting methodology to enhance, improve the governance are more flexible. So we can see that the integration of the SCP into tourism policy could be good potential to utilize the governance mechanism. So what will the COVID-19 become supportive to the sustainable tourism development? I think this is a kind of main question. So some key point I'd like to share at the moment is about the sustainability can be considered as a new normal cases. There have been some cases coming out, including from Thailand and other countries, in order to maintain good sustainability according to the COVID-19, covering economics, environment, social, lifestyle, and particularly in tourism sector for very important economic and environment for the countries. There could be some good idea and discussion how to do better in terms of the resilience growth. Look at a specific context from urban, regional, originally can be from climate change, from the disaster, from the environmental pollution, and now can move to the COVID-19. Another specific resilience is about the socio-ecological aspect. This has been discussed and still on the way in terms of more and more application. So this will be a good chance to apply this concept in the context of the COVID-19, because obviously we did both human and nature interaction to promote socio-ecological resilience. Another one would be what would be the role of the private sector in the tourism industry. This is a big opportunity to involve different role of the different types of the private sector. And there could be some number of key players and efforts, starting from tourism-related agencies, from both institutional, national, and local types of agencies. A number of private sector I just also mentioned, including the communities, small enterprise, small and medium enterprise, including local destination, and professional association. At the moment, would be a good opportunity to look at this association related to the health tourism, food and agro industry, eco-friendly packaging. So these are some of the key players we can look at. I like to share some of the possible cases which we would like to consider based on our experience of the research from the donor support and our academic research in the recent years. Yeah, this is a list of some of the cases. The first one, we have just completed one research enhancing coastal area governance for sustainable tourism in the context of urbanization and climate change. As mentioned earlier, we work on this part, and at the moment we can perhaps look at other types of the residents. And this research was supported by the French government, so maybe a good opportunity to have more connection with the EU and covering Southeast Asia. Another possible case is about the analyzing impact of implementing sustainable or low carbon tourism program. Here we have done a project in the World Heritage City. So the experience here can be utilized in order to look at different types of impacts if we're going to develop or apply some policy and programs. Another possibility is about utilizing community-based tourism development in the selected destination. Yeah, we have compiled some interesting case called like community-based tourism from different aspects, economic, social, and environment. So this kind of compilation and part of our earlier research perhaps can be used to promote how tourism can play a role in this context. Another one, we have developed a training curriculum for sustainable small and SME in the tourism accommodation. The SME is a good opportunity, so perhaps we can make use of this experience in order to develop a business model, because we also apply the concept of the business model within this project. Yeah, I'm going to some slides just quickly show example of the research project as a possible case I just mentioned. Like on this slide, dealing with the role of private sector and interlink with others. And this is the first project I mentioned in the previous slide, and this project covering the coastal area. And another one is also different types of the packaging or the material, and focusing on the hotel accommodation. The result as example here, we look at the different types of impact. Basically on this research, it's about the climate change. And what have been the adaptation measure implemented by different types of the accommodation units. Another quick example is, as mentioned before, assessing the impact of implementing a low carbon tourism program in the World Heritage City. The idea is to look at what will be the change of or different between with and without this kind of the campaign or the program. And we have done multiple types of the indicators from the carbon emission, economic, social and culture and natural resources, environmental dimensions to see the difference of before and after implementing this low carbon tourism program in different sector and different resources used, including the local restaurants. Another quick example is community-based tourism development, as I also mentioned. This is a quick example of showing the different types of the tourism sectors. So we may have to look at what would be different activities and components from accommodation to the tourist attraction, different recreational activities, transportation, information center, and information manufacturing types of activities. And different community may provide different good practice to be learned and shared within our dialogue. So I like to end up offering some of the idea in terms of the challenge and also the opportunities according to this context incorporating the COVID-19. So this is still the simple list, and perhaps I like to highlight a few of them here with a limited time. Yeah, one of the key challenges always is about the social distancing. I think this kind of very emerging drivers, and at the moment perhaps consider more on the challenge. In some case, we might also like to see how this turns into some opportunity, and that's result into international travel restriction, and there could be some change, even growing of packaging amount and characteristics according to this social distancing in the food and manufacturing sectors. And the concern at the moment, considered as a challenge, is short to medium term impact. While there could be some good opportunities, because at the moment we can see that different natural resources become recover and the quality can also be better. So at the moment, perhaps we can see more diversify of the tourist destination to be promoted, including in the remote area. SME is one of the clear potential for the opportunity, also based on our own experience. Remotely local destination and resources also provide good opportunity. From the food sector point of view, short food supply chain and alternative food network could also be considered. Healthy food with eco-friendly materials to be used within the life cycle of the product in the tourism sector. And perhaps we can see more diversified, eco-friendly, and health tourism, including the different sectors. And there could be good opportunity to promote enhance partnership based on different contexts among different sectors. This provides opportunity to develop some new business model. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.